difficult to convey to you on a television screen the pure size, the awesome hugeness of the scene before us here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway in Indiana. This is one of the great moments in world sport. We're playing a back home in Indiana before the running of the 1970 Indianapolis 500 automobile race. It's a scene of tremendous excitement and nostalgia. It's 1970 personified by the latest and fastest automobiles in the world, and it's still 1911. That was the year that it all began here. 52 times since 1911, the race has been run again. And today, it'll be Al Unser on the pole. He qualified at a speed of more than 170 miles an hour. Alongside of him, the outsider in the field, and the surprise, Johnny Rutherford. There go the balloons in the infield, the traditional sign that the Indianapolis 500 is not far away. Rounding out the first row will be A.J. Foyt. The defending champion, of course, is Mario Andretti, and all the other great drivers of American automobile racing. You'll be seeing the 1970 Indianapolis 500 today on ABC's Wide World of Sport.
Spanning the globe to bring you the constant variety of sport, the thrill of victory, and the agony of defeat. The human drama of athletic competition. This is ABC's Wide World of Sports.
Back again at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. It's still a few minutes before the start of the 1970 Indianapolis 500. However, there's plenty of activity right now, specifically in the pit area. And standing by down there is our colleague on these ABC Racing telecasts, Chris Economaki, the editor of National Speed Sport News. Chris?
And here's the defending champion of the 1969 race, Mario Andretti, with a brand new number 1 STP special. Mario, how do you like your new car?
The car is performing quite well today. We're really looking for a good day.
Your car owner, Andy Granatelli, has a stern look on his face. Andy, what are your thoughts right now?
I'm just hoping we can repeat last year.
And here's perennial Indianapolis standout, A.J. Foyt. A.J., you look calm and collected before this one. 61, 64, 67, and it's 3 years to 1970. Are you concerned about number 4?
Well, we're just hoping the day's today.
What do you think about it?
Well, I think our chance is real good. We probably won't take off in charge at first and just play it by ear and just see how the race pans out. The biggest factor is today is the weather.
But the solid favorite is the driver of car number 2, the Johnny Lightning Special, Al Unser of Albuquerque, winner of the pole position. And another contender is road racing star Mark Donahue. Mark, last year you were a rookie. You won the Rookie of the Year award. What about the 1969 500? What was it that surprised you the most?
Well, I think during the month of May last year, I ran a lot of laps, but I never ran really close to anybody. And this year, or rather last year when the race started, I had a whole new ball game to learn. This year, I hope I learned a little bit of it. I'm sure I haven't learned as much as it can be learned, but I think I'll be a little more familiar with running with these other fellows that are competing in the race.
Second place one of the last 2 years is Dan Gurney, and like many others, thinking about winning. Hard luck champion of the 500 is Texan Lloyd Ruby, cheated out of 3 wins. Another Texan is Johnny Rutherford, who holds a front row starting place. Art Pollard, at 42, is the only grandfather in the race, and another of the favorites in this, the 54th running of the Indianapolis 500. Now, back to you, Jim.
Thank you very much, Chris. Well, the Indianapolis 500 is very much a story of 1970, but it's also a story of 1911 and of all the years in between. 1911, well, that's when it all began.
Seen through the lens of an undercrank camera of the time and on film made brittle and clouded by the passage of 59 years, the cars of 1911 looked almost funny, like a Keystone Kops silent comedy. But they weren't really funny. They were heavy, noisy monsters, mechanical marvels for their time. 40 cars were in that original field. All of them except one had riding mechanics, whose principal function in this race was to look back and tell the driver the positions of the cars behind him to warn of overtaking racers. There were plenty of tire problems in that first race. The cars, far from being funny, were dangerous. Compared to today's beauties, they were top-heavy and could easily crush a man. But the man of the hour, the only man without a riding mechanic, was Ray Haroon in a Marmon Wasp. Average speed 74.59 miles per hour. It may only be turnpike speed today, but it was remarkable for its time. And now it's 1912 and a famous incident by a famous racing name, Ralph De Palma, pushing his car home in 1912. In 1913, Peugeot from France was the talk of the speedway with a double overhead cam engine. Jules Gou was the driver, quaffing a pint of champagne on each pit stop and declaring at the end, "Without the good wine, I could never have been the winner." Foreign wins were frequent in the early days. The last pre-World War I winner was a man named Dario Resta. He was the last non-American to win, though, until Jimmy Clark. Here's Resta. The 500 was over for the duration of the war. And during World War I, the track was turned into an airfield. You'll see Captain Eddie Rickenbacker here, who had raced in the 500, had in fact worn the first crash helmet in 1916. Neither he nor the equally famous Barney Oldfield were ever able to win the race, however. Here's Captain Eddie. The 500 resumed in 1919. Foreign cars still were the dominating factor. And the winner of the race, Howie Wilcox in a Peugeot. In 1920, another familiar name came to victory lane, Gaston Chevrolet, in an American car, a Monroe. Jimmy Murphy had won the French Grand Prix at Le Mans in 1921. In 1922, he brought his Duesenberg car to the Speedway, but powered it with a 32-valve straight-eight engine designed by a young engineer named Harry Miller. Murphy won, beginning a Harry Miller era that would culminate in the development of the Offenhauser engine. These are the Duesenberg brothers. They battled it out with Miller cars for the rest of the 20s. The winning drivers during that period were Peter DePaulo and Frank Lockhart, George Souders, Louis Meyer, Ray Keach, and Billy Arnold. This is Keach's 29 Duesenberg. When Louis Meyer returned for a second victory in 1933, his car was driven by an engine developed by Harry Miller and Fred Offenhauser from a motorboat power plant. Offenhauser engines are still at the 500 today. When Meyer won again in 36, he became the first three-time Indy winner. Wilbur Shaw won in 37, 39, and 40 to equal Meyer's mark. In 1941, there almost was no race. The morning of the 500, a fire swept through Gasoline Alley, threatening to destroy all of the expensive machinery housed there awaiting the start. Eventually, it was brought under control. And the race was won by Maury Rose, driving in relief of Floyd Davis. This was the last race for 5 years. World War II closed down the Speedway. Grass grew long and paint peeled from the stands in the silence of the great arena. Some thought it might never reopen, and yet its story had really only begun. The modern era of Indy began when Tony Hulman bought the Speedway after World War II. Hulman did things right, expanding, rebuilding the track's facilities. Exotic cars began to appear, like the snarling front-wheel drive Novi, immediately adopted by the racing fans, and the Fagel twin coach with an engine in front and another in the rear. The young Henry Ford was selected to drive the pace car in that year, the first post-World War II race. He drove the original Lincoln Continental. It pulled off the track and the race was underway. The winner would turn out to be George Robeson. As for the Novi, it dropped out early. And the twin coach, in its only appearance, performed very well but then crashed and never returned. The Novi was a valid concept, but it was dogged by ill luck through the years. In 1953, heat took a terrible toll of drivers. Only 2 men finished without relief. But 1953 also saw the emergence of a super driver at the Speedway. Bill Vukovich was his name. In that year, he outclassed his field, won the race by 3 laps. In 1954, he returned and won again. But the story had a tragic ending. You see it here the next year, Vukovich crashing and flying over the wall to his death. But the name Bill Vukovich is in the starting field this year. His son is in the 10th row. In 1961, Jack Brabham came to the Speedway with a little rear-engine Formula One car, pitifully underpowered, but he finished 9th and started a revolution. 1961, this was the year that there was a wild crash right in front of the main grandstand. This crash from which miraculously all the drivers emerged unscathed. Lots of machinery went to the junkyard, though, and A.J. Foyt won his first Indy 500. The next year it was Roger Ward winning his second. And in 1963, rear engines came from England, the Lotus cars, the challenge of Jimmy Clark. But he was not to win this time, not on the first attempt. Parnelli Jones, in a controversial finish, was the winner, the last man to win from the pole. 1964. This time the rear engine cars were here in force. They were 1, 2, 3 at the end of the first lap. But then disaster struck. In this fiery crash, Eddie Sachs and Dave McDonald went to their deaths. The winner was A.J. Foyt, his second Indianapolis 500. 1965, and Jimmy Clark finally did it. Won the Indianapolis 500 in a rear-engine machine. The revolution was complete. 1966, remember this? This was the start of the race, and before they got to the first turn, there was one of the wildest accidents in the history of the Speedway. Again, luck was with the drivers, with wheels flying everywhere. No one, again, suffered serious injury. The winner was Graham Hill, the second foreign victory in a row. Then came Andy Granatelli's turbine car. Parnelli Jones drove the only one in the race in 67, led, but with 3 laps to go, mysteriously just stopped. Granatelli, his brothers and his crew, tremendously disappointed. A.J. Foyt took the lead, and on the last lap, on the last turn, there was a terrible crash. Just when it looked like it was all over, this is what happened. Way back somewhere was Foyt, and people wondered, could he get through? That was Carl Williams hitting the pit wall. And where's Foyt? There he comes, winning the Indianapolis 500, avoiding all that junk machinery out of turn 4. At 1969, last year, finally victory for Granatelli. Mario Andretti was the driver and became the first winner to be kissed by the owner instead of the beauty queen. Which brings us to this moment. We're back again at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, and right now I'm standing with a 2-time winner of this classic, often our colleague on ABC Automobile Racing broadcast, Roger Ward. Roger's assignment today is a little bit different, sort of a roving reporter, starting, interestingly enough, driving the pace car.
Yes, and I'm very excited about that because this will be the first time for me on this particular assignment, and it's a pleasure to be in front of 33 such great race drivers.
I should think that it would be. What about the race itself and some of the stories you might find for us?
Well, I think this year the race is going to be much more competitive than it's been for a long time. Actually, if you sized it up, you'd realize that all 33 cars are using either turbocharged Offenhausers or turbocharged Fords.
Well, that's the Offie on the left and the Ford on the right, and you can clearly see the difference between them, I think.
Yes, the Offie's a 4-cylinder engine. It's very reliable in the past. Perhaps not quite as much horsepower as the Ford, but a little better right off the turns. The Ford has some additional straightaway speed, but perhaps not quite as strong coming off the turn. So you have to kind of balance that out. And I think for this reason alone, the car's so nearly horsepowered that it's going to be a very competitive race. Of course, the cars are quite equal also. The mechanics have been working with these cars for several years now and very familiar with it. So should be a great and interesting race.
So the machines are even. Again, at Indy, it's man against man. Roger, I think it's pace car time for you. Good luck out there.
Jim, and I'm going to have to rush down there and get in the car.
Okay, keep it under 170, will you?
I'll do that.
We'll be talking to you later. Roger Ward. Well, now we have another interesting story for you just before the race begins. The cars are in 11 rows of 3 each. But how did they get there? Well, let's find out.
Certainly not by the luck of the draw. The cars, as you see them here, earned their places in a strictly defined system of qualification. It happens on 4 days over 2 weekends. On May 16th, the first day, there were 33 empty places in 11 rows of 3. Whoever would qualify fastest on that first day would win the number 1 or pole position, a good deal of prestige, and about $20,000 in prize money. All who qualify on the first day are placed on the front rows, like this. Al Unser, youngest of the racing Unsers from Albuquerque, won the pole with the fastest time, averaging 170.221 miles per hour for his 4-lap or 10-mile qualification run. He drove a turbocharged Ford engine PJ Colt. And so he earned his place on the inside of the front row. Second fastest qualifier was a big surprise. 32-year-old Johnny Rutherford of Fort Worth was a top driver until he broke both arms in a 1966 accident. Since then, it's been a slow comeback. but he toured the course in his turbo Offenhauser Eagle car, only 8 1/1000ths of a mile per hour slower than Unser, and sits in the number 2 position. Rounding out the first row is the man who seems most at home in Indy, 3-time winner A.J. Foyt. His Coyote, built by him, powered by Ford, was just 0.2 of a mile per hour off the pole. He seeks an unprecedented 4th victory here. Roger McCluskey, almost 40 years old now, has raced 8 times here, led twice, but has never finished. Clint Bronner, chief mechanic on last year's winning car, now is with McCluskey, and the car sits on the inside of the second row. Next to him is last year's rookie of the race, Mark Donohue, the sports car driving star, graduate of Brown University. And then there's the 43-year-old racing grandfather from Oregon, Art Pollard. Row 3 shows 2 former winners, Bobby Unser on the inside, winner 2 years ago. And in the middle, last year's champion, Mario Andretti. Mario's in a new car this time, made in Germany by a former American Green Beret officer named Francis McNamara. Look for car number 1 to be charging from that 3rd row position. It's an Indy oddity, by the way, that no car has ever won from this starting spot. 9th starting position that first day went to the versatile Jimmy Malloy. All told, 17 qualified that first day. 10 more earned places the next afternoon. But according to Indy rules, they were placed behind the first day qualifiers, even though some were faster in speed. Lloyd Ruby, one of the favorites and the all-time hard luck racer at this track, blew 3 engines trying to make the field on the second day. He finally made it on the following Saturday when the field was filled out to its full number. After that came the bumping sequence. In this, a car going faster than the slowest qualifier to date replaces that car, not in its position in the lineup, but at the end of the field. Top drivers further back in the field today are Dan Gurney in the 4th row, Peter Revson, Gordon Johncock, and Joe Leonard all in the 6th. In row 9, Jack Brabham and Ruby. Ruby should be flat out from the start. And now, another of the great traditional moments here at Indy. Here's Tony Hulman for the 25th year.
Gentlemen, start your engine.
And so the cry of the Indianapolis race car is heard across the land again. 33 cars ready for the start now. There's Andretti, there's Bobby Unser, who won 2 years ago alongside of him. They'll be rolling in just a moment. Our colleague Roger Ward down in the pace car, and we're a little late getting underway, Chris.
Well, the rain delayed us for about 25 minutes, and good news here, all 33 engines have fired up.
Nobody gets left on the start. Usually that does happen to somebody or other. We'll be back for the actual green flag in a minute. It's just a matter of seconds now until the beginning of the 1970 Indianapolis 500. The cars behind the pace car, driven by Roger Ward, are on the backstretch. Let's set the field for you in the first rows. On the inside, Al Unser. In the middle, Johnny Rutherford, and on the outside, A.J. Foyt. In the second row, it's McCluskey on the inside, Donohue in the middle, Pollard on the outside. The third row, Bobby Unser on the inside, Andretti in the middle, and Jimmy Malloy on the outside. The rest of the cars strung out behind them.
It's interesting to note, Jim, the first 6 cars are all of different manufacture. Unser being in a Colt, Rutherford in an Eagle, Foyt in a Coyote he built himself, McCluskey in a Scorpion, Mark Donohue in a British-made Lola, and Art Pollard in a King.
Okay, well, they're coming out of the 4th turn. The green flag is out in the hand of starter Pat Badan. Looks like we're going to get it this time. Roger Ward pulling off. Look, a car's out of control. It's Jimmy Malloy in the 3rd row who suddenly hit the wall, spun across the track, and Pat Badan has put down the green flag and has the yellow out. This race is being put under a caution flag before it has begun. What in the world could that have been?
Jim, I honestly don't know. He had some kind of trouble, but the miraculous aspect of this is that no other car touched him. He hit the outside wall, spun through the field laterally from the outside of the track to the inside of the track, and everyone avoided him. Boy, what a beautiful driving on the part of the other drivers.
It certainly was, and now just 32 cars are out there, still technically on a pace lap. Let's see what happened. Here it is in slow motion, Chris. There we see the arrow indicating Malloy's car.
Well, whatever it was, it sent him into the outside wall. He bounced off and came spinning across the track. It looks as though the left rear suspension is seriously damaged, and that may have been what sent him into the wall. Missing other cars just by inches.
Malloy himself is okay, and there you see his car. Not too much in the way of visible damage. These other cars here are probably not aware of what has happened yet. They're going to be slowing them down as they get to the 4th turn, but they're going to have to brake pretty hard. He even though they're not at racing speed.
The yellow light is on around the track, Jim.
Here they are, being cautioned to slow down, to move out by track workers and safety men. And now the yellow flag is being replaced by the red flag. So the 1970 Indianapolis 500 is being stopped before it has even begun. That must be a first.
They've had trouble here in recent years at the beginning, and here we have it again in 1970. We hope that Malloy can get his car back into the field.
The question now is whether these cars will start in their rows of 3 for a normal start, or whether, having been red flagged, they'll be put in single file to start. But now the word comes, they're going to line up as they did for another start.
It'll be a complete restart, and the word is that Malloy's car suffered a broken right rear radius rod and is damaged to the degree that it cannot join the field on the restart.
There you see the crews coming back out again. This is not very good for race cars to have to start just when they've gotten underway or are just ready to race.
Well, the fuel situation with the Fords is a bit critical. There's Malloy walking back, a very disappointed fellow, but he'll get 33rd place when it's all over.
And more than $10,000, and he never ran a lap. Again, we return to the Indianapolis Motor Speedway to again try to get this race started. Not one lap has been run as yet, and already there's been an accident. Only 32 cars will now come to the start. Roger Ward in the pace car now pulling off the track again. And again, Pat Vadan has the green flag ready.
They topped off with fuel, Jim, which pleased the Ford drivers.
There's the green flag. They're racing at Indianapolis and into the first turn. There's Johnny Rutherford in his yellow car number 18 taking the lead. Rutherford, the outsider who amazingly almost won the pole, is now in first place. Just behind him is Al Unser, the pole winner, and then A.J. Foyt, who is on the outside of that first row. They're the first 3 cars right now. Unser, however, moving out. He's going to try to pass Rutherford just as quickly. On the backstretch, Al Unser in his blue and gold Johnny Lightning Special has taken the lead. Al Unser is the leader. Rutherford is second, and Foyt is still third.
The speed down the back straightaway, Jim, touches and sometimes exceeds 200 miles an hour.
A good tight look at the leader in second place car. There's Unser, car number 2, and Rutherford, number 18. A.J. Foyt is car number 7. Lloyd Ruby, who started in 27th position, is going like crazy. He has already passed 10 cars on the first lap. He's going to get into it. And there you see him on the outside, passing a whole bunch of cars, but now dropping into position for the first turn again. Back to the leader, Al Unser.
Ruby said he was going to charge, and charge he is, but Unser, going better now than 164 miles an hour, is starting to pull away.
He is pulling out in first place, and Johnny Rutherford in second place is also moving out of the rest of the pack. There's Mario Andretti trying to pass Roger Donahue, but dropping back into position as we go up to the leader again.
That number 2 car of Unser's is handling beautifully, running like it was on rails.
Roger Ward is back with us at our commentary position now, having driven the pace car and having driven it exceedingly well, Roger.
They liked it.
Here is Lloyd Ruby again, excuse me, Chris, but Ruby continues to move up through the field. Pretty soon he's going to have all of the slower cars passed and move up among the leaders.
He's trying to get by stock car driver Leroy Yarborough, and Mike Mosley is following him closely.
Back up on front, the leaders remain the same, and Al Unser continues to stretch it out. All the month of May, he's been the fastest car here. Fastest in qualifying, and he's sure the fastest today in the early laps. It's a long race, though. Now there is Art Pollard moving out to try to pass A.J. Foyt for third place. Pollard right in the middle of the track, and he's got him. Mario Andretti tried to get Mark Donahue, but was shut off. So Andretti drops back into 6th place in his red STP Special. Here is Art Pollard now in 3rd place. A.J. Foyt is 4th, Donahue 5th, and Andretti 6th, and all of those cars close together.
With all the talk about Ford superiority, Unser's cars are Ford, but we have 2 Offenhausers in 2nd and 3rd place, the machines of Rutherford and Pollard.
And Lloyd Ruby there has now passed everybody but the top 9 cars. He's passed all of the slower machines and will soon be challenging, it looks like.
He's got that mongoose really rolling.
Lloyd Ruby, the hard luck man, could have won the race last year and the year before. Blew 3 engines on 1 day of qualifying here, but he's back in the thick of it. And now we're back up to that battle for 3rd place. It's Pollard, and then Foyt, and then Donahue in the blue car, Andretti. And behind him we have Bobby Unser, and there's Dan Gurney, then Roger McCluskey. Those are your lead cars at the moment. As I said, Roger Ward, you had a nice ride in the pace car, it looked like.
Well, I certainly did, Jim. As a matter of fact, I had to work a little overtime, but it was enjoyable.
Okay, well, the man having perhaps not an enjoyable, but certainly an exciting ride right now is Lloyd Ruby.
Jim, in Ruby's pit are the astronauts Pete Conrad and Dick Gordon from the Apollo 12 mission, and are they ever tickled to see the way he's going?
Well, he certainly has done a tremendous job of driving up to this point, but now the work really begins. He's passed most of the slower automobiles. Now he has to catch the lead, and of course, from now on, every pass he makes will really be difficult because the drivers are really tough drivers.
Okay, now again, we're back to that battle for third place. There's Art Pollard, who is third, the racing grandfather from Medford, Oregon. But he's still very closely pursued. A.J. Foyt in fourth position, then Mark Donahue in car number 66, Mario Andretti, the defending champion, in car number 1, then Bobby Unser, then Dan Gurney, Roger McCluskey, and Lloyd Ruby is in 10th position. Greg Weld is pulling off the track. There's the first retirement, aside from Malloy, who crashed before the race began in the 1970 Indianapolis 500.
Looks as though his engine went, and he's the second man out, as you say, Jim.
Back to the racing, however. There is Foyt, there's Donahue and Andretti, and there Bobby Unser, who won 2 years ago. Remember, his brother is leading the race up in front. Lloyd Ruby, will repeat, is in 10th position. He started 27th. And he's never won the Indianapolis 500. Here's the way they stand. Unser, Rutherford, Pollard, Foyt, Donahue, Andretti, the other Unser, Gurney, McCluskey, and Ruby, and back in a minute. We return again to the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. This is Jim McKay reporting along with Chrissy Kanamaki and Roger Ward. And look at the crowd. They're estimated at 300,000 here at Indianapolis this afternoon. Some 225,000 of them actually seated. There's Al Unser, who is leading the 1970 Indianapolis 500, stretching it out just a little bit all the time. But here is a car dropping down towards the infield. That is number 20, the car that won this race last year. This is the Hawk of Mario Andretti that he won with last season. Today being driven by George Falmer, but it looks like Falmer has had it for the afternoon.
He's the third man out after Malloy and Weld, Jim.
Bobby Unser has now moved up into third place, by the way, ahead of Art Pollard, and behind those two cars comes A.J. Foyt, Mario Andretti there, Roger McCluskey, Mark Donahue, Lloyd Ruby, now in 9th place, and Dan Gurney rounding out the top 10. There you see Foyt, number 7, number 1 is Andretti, and then McCluskey, number 11, who has been making as if he might like to pass Mario Andretti. You can see they're very, very close together. There's Lloyd Ruby moving out again, down towards the inside, trying to get past Mark Donahue, and here's McCluskey moving out on Andretti. McCluskey very quickly getting by Andretti, and now Ruby gets by Donahue. Lloyd Ruby, who started in the 9th row, is now in 8th position in the race. We asked him earlier how he planned to drive these early laps.
That'd be hard to say because all them cars up in front of me, they don't know where they're going. Sure, I don't, but the only thing I do is just try to work my way up to them and try to stay clear of all of them and try to get towards the front because it's really no time to wait back there because starting that far back, you wait, they get strung out. They'll be really strung out. They'll be so far in front of you, never would catch them.
Well, that was Lloyd Ruby before the race, and he has sure done what he said he was trying to do. Get going early in the race. Here he is now challenging Mario Andretti for 7th place. Right at the bottom of your screen. Here they are. He's got him. Lloyd Ruby moving into 7th place ahead of Mario Andretti, and up ahead of them, there's quite a battle between Foyt and McCluskey. There's Lloyd Ruby, though, in the red, white, and blue Bill Daniels Cablevision Special. From the 9th row up into 7th place and still moving fast. There is McCluskey trying to take A.J. Foyt. The white car is McCluskey, and he's got him. McCluskey passing Foyt for 5th position in this race. And Lloyd Ruby now is moving up on A.J. Foyt. What a tremendous virtuoso driving performance we're seeing here this afternoon. There's never been anything quite like it at Indianapolis. Lloyd Ruby, remember, has never won this race. 3 times before, he had a good shot at it. And now here he comes, trying to pass A.J. There's Ruby down on the inside, and he's got Voigt. He's moved into 6th place.
He's matching the speed of the leader, Jim, running over 164.
And now he tries for Roger McCluskey. Lloyd Ruby after another veteran, 40-year-old Roger McCluskey. This could put him into 5th position in the race, and then there will only be 4 to pass. And here he comes. Ruby right alongside McCluskey, and he's got him going into the first turn. Fantastic story here this afternoon of Lloyd Ruby. Remember, way up in front, Al Unser is still the leader in the race, but you have to stay with a performance like Ruby's putting out here today.
Ruby is the man the people are watching, Jim.
Top 10 right now, Al Unser the leader, Johnny Rutherford second, and Bobby Unser, Art Pollard. And here is McCluskey repassing Lloyd Ruby. So for the first time today, somebody has actually passed Ruby. It's Al Unser, Rutherford, Bobby Unser, Pollard, McCluskey, Ruby, Voigt, Andretti, Donahue, and Gurney.
And that McCluskey and Ruby, they know one another's idiosyncrasies and have great respect. There's going to be a ding-dong duel here for that position between these two Southwesterners. Ruby, incidentally, is driving a year-old automobile built for car owner Gene White by Dave Laycock here in Indianapolis. He decided against using his new car. Art Pollard, up to 3rd place earlier, is now out of it with apparently engine trouble in his number 10 car. Tough break for the Argon driver.
Car number 10, Art Pollard, has indeed had it for the afternoon. No question about this. When you see smoke pouring out of the engine and Art out of the car, the safety crews out instantly, as they always are here at Indianapolis. And the yellow flag has been brought out. And into the pits comes Mario Andretti. This is pretty early, even though the yellow's out.
It certainly is. As a matter of fact, this is entirely too early to be a regularly scheduled pit stop, so he has to have some kind of a problem. It looks as though they're working on the front of the automobile. Apparently, the body must have come loose and was flapping in the breeze, and Mario taking advantage of the yellow flag to try to get it fixed as rapidly as possible. They are also refueling the automobile while he's in there.
Okay, but this makes it certain. Apparently, he'll have to take 4 pit stops, and that's going to be real trouble for Mario. Chris Economiki's down in the pits there with Andy Granatelli. Chris?
What was that pit stop for Mario?
The Zeus button on the hood and the nose cone got loose.
Think it's going to hurt his chances?
No.
Quick pit stop for Mario Andretti. A hood button came loose and it had to be refastened. While he was in, he took on fuel.
And so Al Unser continues to lead the Indianapolis 500. The green flag is out again at Indianapolis. Al Unser, the leader, into the first turn as Pat Padan gives them the flag. Unser with a comfortable lead, remember, over 2nd place Johnny Rutherford, and then the rest of the top 10 battling it out behind them.
There's 4 rookies in the field this year, Jim. Greg Weld, who's out of it already, Rick Muther, Dick Simon, and Donnie Allison, who's driving one of 4 A.J. Foyt-entered cars in the competition. And the 3 remaining rookies seem to be doing quite well in the staying out of trouble department.
Well, of course, by the time a rookie comes to Indianapolis, he is really not what you would consider a rookie, because he has done a tremendous amount of racing. In fact, most of these men would have at one time or another competed against the men here at Indianapolis. So actually, they know pretty well what to expect out of these drivers.
Ruby is in his 11th Indianapolis 500, and A.J. is in his 13th 500. Between them, 24 Indianapolis starts, the most experienced men in the field.
One thing that is helping Lloyd a great deal is the fact that his crew is giving him the time difference between himself and the leader, Al Unser. So he knows exactly where he is in regard to the lead, and he's trying to maintain that and not drop back any, and actually has been able to do it, which, and this will inspire a driver. I think this is one of the things that's kept him going as hard as he has.
The fact that there's a few cars between he and the leader doesn't seem to matter to the pit crew then, Roger?
It certainly doesn't.
Boy, the traffic is all heavy. It seems to be centered on one side of the track, and look at the action going in here. Whoa, and that is known as closing the gate in racing parlance, but Ruby handled it beautifully, one little bit wide, and that must be a nerve-shattering experience.
It certainly is, but you can tell how beautifully his car is handling. When a man goes into the turn that hard, slides clear out of the group, and still able to save it, you know that his car is really performing and handling beautifully.
tremendous competition and heavy traffic on the straightaway here. Ruby and A.J. Foyt battling through traffic. George Snyder, number 84, one of Foyt's other drivers, a lap down. The groove seems to have widened here at Indianapolis thanks to the wider tires. Before, all drivers had to take a rather narrow line entering the turn, but this year they have more latitude, it seems, as you can see by the black streak throughout the corners and onto the straights.
I don't recall ever having seen so many cars running so close together as we have right now, and certainly it's a tremendous performance on the part of these drivers not to get mixed up and cause some sort of an accident, because everyone is really driving hard.
Ruby is getting way down below the white line in the corner, showing how well that car is sticking in the turns. Here's a spectator's eye view, that high wheel fence to protect them should parts fly off a car. Drivers whizzing by the vertical references, making them look as though they're going even faster. Now, here's Jim McKay with Art Pollard.
Art, that's too bad just when you were running so well. What happened to the car?
I think we blew a piston, Jim. It vibrated pretty badly and started missing, and then smoked out the turbocharger, out the exhaust, so that's a pretty good indication I blew a piston.
No symptoms of it before that, though, huh?
No, the car was running pretty fair. Had a slight handling problem. It was understeering considerably in the number 3 and 4 turns, and that was the only thing that was bothering me. Other than that, I think it was going to settle down and be pretty good.
And Al Unser continues to lead with Johnny Rutherford second. His speed cut now to 162 plus miles an hour because of the yellow flag. He's still running, however, 164, but all eyes are centered on the battle for third between Lloyd Ruby and A.J. Foyt. A tremendous duel between these two drivers from the Lone Star State. In traffic on the corner, but never letting up on the accelerator pedal. Ruby, number 25, Foyt, the Sheridan Thompson Special, number 7. Tremendous Indy 500 Classic, the 54th running of this America's greatest race, and a record crowd looking on at some exciting competition here. Al Unser is the second car on the screen. He's the leader, coming down the back straightaway, and in second place is Johnny Rutherford. Here's Jim.
Let's take a look at the relationship between the first and second place car, Chris. There is Al Unser in car number 2, the second car on your screen at the moment. And now as we look back, there goes the leader, and here is the second place car, Johnny Rutherford. As you can see, he's still well within striking distance. But the battle goes on between Foyt and Ruby, and there's Foyt moving down to the inside, trying to take Lloyd Ruby for third place in the race, but being shut off by Lloyd this time. Wild and woolly, isn't it?
It certainly is. One of the wildest races I've ever seen. You know, we've always talked about drafting down in the south, the stock cars, but actually it's become quite important here at Indianapolis because the cars have been improved aerodynamically, and the idea is to hold the car down in the turn, but it slows the cars down the straightaway a little bit. So now with drafting, they can actually pick that speed back up again, and it does help to pass.
And now A.J. Foyt is in third place, ahead of Lloyd Ruby, car number 7, leading car number 25. A tremendous battle between two of the most experienced and capable drivers in the world for third place. And into the pits comes Dan Gurney. This looks like the first routine pit stop of the afternoon, but it's a little bit early, about 4 laps earlier than most of the drivers have been hoping for. And now here's another car out of the race. This is Gordon Johncock in car number 5, Jim Gilmore's Gilmore Broadcasting Special. Well, Jim still has one car left. Jack Brabham is racing under his colors this year, too. Al Unser in car number 2 is breezing along with the breeze at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. He is leading by a comfortable margin in the 1970 Indianapolis 500 over second place Johnny Rutherford and the rest of the field. Unser in the California-built P.J. Colt car, owned by Parnelli Jones, who, by the way, was the last man to win this race from the pole position, and Unser is possibly in the process of doing exactly that right now. Car number 7 there, however, is A.J. Foyt, and there's number 25, Lloyd Ruby. They're still battling it out for third place in the race. The orange car of Foyt, the red, white, and blue, number 25 of Lloyd Ruby. And it looks like there may be some smoke coming out of Ruby's car just a little bit, but it could mean something. Into the pits right now is the lead car, however. This is Al Unser, and just past him goes Johnny Rutherford. The number 1 and 2 cars are in the pits, and we're timing Al Unser.
These are the routine stops, Jim, for fuel that should come at 50, 100, and 150 laps. Rutherford's crew putting in fuel in the offie. They're taking on some 65 to 70 gallons of alcohol during these very brief stops. And there goes Unser out in 20 and 1/10 seconds. Very quick.
Wow, that really is a fast one.
George Bignani really knows how to run a pit crew.
Al Unser right back out again, but Rutherford is not out. Now they're pushing the car, having a little trouble getting it started. Lloyd Ruby is definitely smoking. Let's keep a close eye on that car. The man who moved all the way from the 9th row up into 3rd place. Rutherford is completely stalled, as you can see, and they're going to have to restart the car.
They have to put the starter motor back in, and Mike Devon and the Patrick Petroleum crew are getting a tough break right here because he'll most certainly lose his contending position.
All right, the lead car technically in the race is A.J. Foyt right now, closely followed by Lloyd Ruby. They're running 1st and 2nd because of the pit stop by the cars that work. And, however, look at that smoke. This is the most significant thing at the moment, coming out of Ruby's car.
3 out of the past 4 500s, Ruby has virtually had the race won when some unlikely mechanical problem manifested itself. And here again, whatever it is, it looks as though the snake may have bitten again.
Well, at the moment, A.J. Foyt is going to come into the pits, and Ruby takes the lead, but at the same moment, he's getting the black flag. I've never seen that before. As he took the lead in the race because of Foyt coming in, Ruby got the black flag from starter Pat Vidan, and is going to have to come into the pits.
And the drama is compounded here in Indianapolis. Foyt is taking on right side tires, and that's his father, A.J. Foyt Sr., on the right rear wheel. Now, the other drivers haven't changed tires. This is a surprise for A.J. Foyt.
But out on the track, Lloyd Ruby is coming around, and he must come in, because when you're given the black flag, that is an order from the officials to come into the pits and find out what the source of your trouble is.
26 and 2/10 seconds. He's given away 6 seconds to Al Unser, Jim.
And here is Lloyd Ruby into the pits. However, it's kind of convenient. He'd be due in pretty soon anyway, wouldn't he?
The black flag came at the most opportune time a black flag could come, Jim. And they're checking over the transmission gearbox section of the car, which seems to be covered with smoking oil.
At this moment, technically, the leader in the race is Mark Donahue, who has not yet made his pit stop, and Jack Brabham, who is also due for a pit stop, is technically 2nd. However, Al Unser had a real quick one, as you know, and when all the pit stops are completed, should still be the leader.
The man with the headset is the United States Auto Club official who's examining the car. Will be his decision as to whether or not that car can continue in the competition.
And Mark Donahue just went past there a moment ago. He's in the pits now. Al Unser back out on the track at the moment, but Jack Brabham technically is the leader. Ruby is going to try it again.
And the fans are giving him a big cheer.
Jim, what I think is going to happen here is they've sent Lloyd back out on the racetrack. They probably know now what the problem is, and they'll probably bring him back in 2 or 3 laps with the proper equipment to fix it.
Well, there is Donahue, finished his pit stop, but he is not the leader now. Jack Brabham is the leader.
The standings are really shuffled now, Jim.
Well, here comes Jack Brabham in the Gilmore Broadcasting Special number 32, and this means as he takes a pit stop, that there's the black flag again for Ruby. They'll bring him in again, but Al Unser is again the leader in the race.
And now Ruby's car is smoking up, and it's burst into flame.
It was a kind of an explosion back there, and then flames. Roger, you have any idea what it is?
Well, it looked to me as though the rear end or the gearbox in the back of the automobile exploded. And, of course, Lloyd does not know that that automobile is burning like that. Actually, there's fuel very close to that fire. And if he knew it was burning, I'm certain he'd get it off the racetrack and get out of it in a hurry.
But Lady Luck has deserted Lloyd Ruby yet again at Indianapolis. His fortunes here are almost unbelievable, and into the record book goes another strange first for him, getting black flagged at the same instant that he took the lead. Into the infield now, and Lloyd Ruby is finished for at least another season. Yellow flag out on the race course. There has been some question as to whether Lloyd might be nearing retirement time, so conceivably it could be his last 500.
We must say a good word for the fire protection crew.
They sure do a job at Indy. Back in a minute. This is Jim McKay with Chris Economaki and Roger Ward. The leader in the race is still Al Unser. A.J. Foyt 2nd, and now Joe Leonard is 3rd. At the moment, I'm in Gasoline Alley trying to get a word with Lloyd Ruby, who so disappointingly dropped out.
Lloyd, what did Lady Luck come up with this time?
As far as I know, the rear end let go. It's evident was losing a little oil, and they brought me in black flag at once, and they checked it over, and went back out and run a few laps, and evident was the rear end let go.
Well, you were going so great at that time.
The car was working real beautiful, just one of them things.
What are racing conditions like at home?
Oh, it's a little bit slick, but the car was working real good. And I believe I was working as good as anybody in the turns. We wasn't running down the straightaway real good, but we're making up the difference.
Will you be back next year?
I hope so.
But at the moment, it's that long, solitary walk back to the garage for Lloyd Ruby, the hard luck man from Texas. Let's go back out to Chris now.
Al Unser still leads in the number 2 car. Prior to his first pit stop, he pocketed $6,200 in lap money for here in Indianapolis. $150 goes to the leader of each lap. And here's the signal that he has 6 seconds on A.J. Foyt, which means that A.J. is closing because Al was 6 seconds ahead of Foyt on the pit stops. A.J. stop being 6 seconds longer than Unser's. And here is the second place driver, A.J. Foyt. Remember, trying for an unprecedented 4th Indianapolis 500 victory. And now Roger McCluskey, that new number 11 Scorpion, is in the pits, and this is an unscheduled stop. That means the Tucson, Arizona driver has some trouble with the car. And the competition continues on the racetrack. Joe Leonard, who made a fine pit stop, moved to 3rd, wants it A.J. Foyt, and he's mixing it with Jack Brabham. He can't get by the Australian driving number 32. Leonard is Al Unser's teammate. There's nothing they like better than a 1-2 positioning at this point of the competition. So Leonard again trying to get by the driver from Australia, the only driver in the race that owns and drives his own car. And it looks as though Roger McCluskey is out of it. Here's Jim with Roger.
Too bad, Roger. What happened?
I broke the left lower control arm on the left rear wheel and let the wheel toe in. It couldn't, it wouldn't track right. At first, I thought I had a flat. I was coming off a 4, and it was coming off with the back end out, and I thought maybe I had a leaker. Maybe I'd run over something and punctured it. But I came in and got a new right rear, but that wasn't it.
Well, this machinery can be awfully frustrating, can it?
Sure can.
Every year it seems to be something. How are the racing conditions out there, Roger?
Not too bad. It's a little greasy up on the north end, up through 3, and the wind up there bothers you a little, but other than that, really, it's pretty good shape. It's beautiful weather.
And Joe Leonard is out of the competition, coasting to a stop in his number 15 Johnny Lightning Special, and this puts Mark Donahue in 3rd place. Boy, that McCluskey has had 8 and now 9 starts in Indianapolis without finishing. Mario Andretti in the number 1 car. Bobby Unser and Mike Mosley battling now for 4th place, and Joe Leonard is out of it. And the competition here is keen. Car owner Bob Wilkie, who owns both Unser and Mosley's car, must be chewing his fingernails, Roger.
Well, I'm certain that he is. Of course, he would like to have his cars running well and up towards the front, but he'd rather they weren't battling each other, because one little slip by either driver could put them both out.
Seesaw competition here between these top drivers. Unser, who won the race in 1968, his brother is leading. Brother act in this Indianapolis 500. The boys are doing very well. Last year's winner is right behind the 68 winner as they come down the straightaway, and here the drafting comes into play. Does more than one car affect drafting, Roger?
Yes, it certainly would. You get 2 or 3 cars together, and of course it helps the 3rd car more than it would any other, but it is important now here at Indianapolis.
So it's Bobby Unser in the number 3 car, Mario Andretti number 1, and Mike Mosley in number 3, fighting, remember, for 4th place. Mosley number 9, rather. Unser the leader in car number 2. A.J. Foyt second in car number 7. And Mosley is moved by Mario Andretti. The number 9 car overhauls the number 1 car to move up a notch and challenge Bobby Unser in the number 3 car, his teammate. Now, Al Unser, the leader, moves in behind Mario Andretti. He's that far ahead of the field now and wants to put a lap on these charging competitors. And now, Mike Mosley overhauls the 1968 winner Bobby Unser, going by on the inside. And Al Unser has put a lap on Mario Andretti. Roger, very little passing on the outside this year.
Well, they really can't pass too much on the outside. Most of the cars will come down the straightaway, then move to the inside and try to make their pass at the end of the straightaways. And most of the time they would be on the inside.
The passing seems to be quicker and cleaner this year than in years past. There's always been racing for a long time. Here we go now. Al Unser trying to get by his brother and can't quite get the job done this time. You think he handles it with kid gloves, Roger?
Well, he probably does. Of course, I think he would be a great feather in his cap to get him lapped, but part of the problem is that the other automobiles around are causing these cars to move around on the straightaway, and of course Al wants to get a good clean shot. He's got a pretty good lead, and he doesn't want to louse anything up by getting into trouble.
And Bobby Unser there goes by Mike Mosley. What a seesaw duel these two boys are putting on. Unser, a seasoned veteran, and Mosley, one of the younger drivers in the Indianapolis 500. Number 3, Bobby Unser. Number 9, Mike Mosley. And the leader, Al Unser, the number 2 car, trying to find racing room to put a lap on him, knowing that A.J. Foyt is coming from behind. And now Mario Andretti goes to the pits. Remember, his first pit stop was unscheduled and early, so this one would be a routine stop as he comes into the Andy Granatelli pits. And it looks as though he's going to take on a tire. Yes, a right rear. A.J. Foyt was the only other contender to change tires, and now Mario is taking on a right rear. This is a brand new car built in Germany for this year's race, and it really is not doing as well as they'd hoped. They expect him to be in front. And now Al Unser puts a lap on Mike Mosley. It gets a little bit of breathing room and comes up behind his brother. 24 and a half, 25 seconds in the pit, and they only have the wheel off. This is going to cost Mario a lot of time. And now Al Unser puts the pass to good use, gets ahead of Bobby Unser, and starts to open up the ground on this 2.5-mile speedway. Al Unser has dominated this competition since Pat Vidan's green flag, losing the lead only when he stopped for gas. He's humming beautifully.
One thing that I've been checking is A.J. Foyt continues to stay about 7 seconds behind Al Unser, so actually he's maintaining just that distance, and probably this is what he's planned.
And Mario Andretti goes back into the competition just about 1 minute behind a very costly stop. He's got some kind of a problem on that car. And Bobby goes back around Mike Mosley. Boy, what a race these two fellas are putting on. And Jim McKay is down in the pits with Joe Leonard.
Joe, sorry to see you with such a short working day today. What happened?
Well, actually, Jim, I think in checking with the mechanics that the little Johnny Lightning 500 car actually dropped the magneto. First I thought it was a turbocharger because I noticed a couple of sparks, but as if somebody turned the key off, it just died on turn 2. We planned if everything broke right, I could get up and be following Al, and we just made it shortly before the mishap.
You passed an awful lot of cars to get there. Did you have any adventures on the way?
Yes, I had a couple. They were quite thrilling. Down the front stretch, I don't know if you noticed, Jim, but there was one point there was about 8 of us all lined up, and we were all braking to get draft. And fortunately, our car was really handling beautiful, and I got what we call a slingshot off the corner, and I sailed right up through the middle of him and come out in the lead down the backstretch. And I really had to chuckle. Usually you don't laugh because you talk to yourself all during the day.
Were you laughing in the race car, really?
But I actually chuckled, you know, in my mind. Actually, I don't think my face actually expressed it, but I says, oh, what's this? And then pretty soon I was fourth or third the next time the board came out.
And it's Mario Andretti back in the pits again, and this really takes him out of total contention in this year's 500. And A.J. Foyt about to lap Johnny Rutherford. The bad pit stop where Rutherford's car stalled has left him now a lap behind, upset his rhythm. For a while he was second and challenging for the lead.
Okay, Chris, Joe Leonard, a man with a pretty good sense of humor, even though he's dropped out of the race, wasn't he?
Sort of a comedian.
A.J. Foyt has lapped Johnny Rutherford. Rutherford, who sat in second position at the start of the race. There's one of Foyt's other cars, number 84, driven by George Snyder in the pits.
I think we could have a problem right here because actually George Snyder has moved partially into A.J. Foyt's pit, and A.J. is scheduled to come in this time around. So A.J. may have some problems and not be able to stop.
Here's the leader into the pits for his second scheduled pit stop, and we have a clock on that. A.J. coming in now. Here's the problem. He's got to go by. He's got to go by. He has to pass up his pit, losing valuable time. That'll really cost A.J.
And this is the cushion that Al Unser needs. He's got some comfort now.
You saw Al Unser was out again in 21 and 1/10 seconds. He's getting fabulous pit stops today.
This is a real tough break for A.J. Foyt because if he'd been able to make that pit stop at a proper time, he would still be in contention.
Looks like Mel Kenyon is out of his car. We're going to have a driver change. Roger McCluskey is going to take over for Kenyon. And now here's A.J. back into the pit. This time the pit is clear and ready for him. But the damage has been done, time-wise.
It just is not meant to be, I guess, for A.J. to become the 4-time winner. He was geared for it. He's done a great job. He put 4 cars in the race, built this car, and sold and serviced the Ford engine used by most of the other competitors in this contest.
And at the moment, Al Unser's car taking back the lead and just breezing along so beautifully. There's been no problem of any kind as far as anybody can see with that machine this afternoon. The seconds ticking away, though, on AJ, and here he is coming out again. 28 and 1/10 seconds.
And he ran over the jack, Jim. The jack was left in the way of the right rear wheel. It picked it up and bounced it behind him, but apparently did no damage.
Al Unser out on the racetrack, still going beautifully, just fine, no problems. For the younger of the Unser brothers. Here into the pits comes number 66. This is Mark Donohue, the road racing star. Going very well. He was the Rookie of the Year last year.
Roger Penske's the owner of this car, and they've done a fine job in turning out a wonderfully prepared machine.
He's in second place, or was when he came into the pits. Watch the clock. See how good a stop they get on this Roger Penske managed car. Mark Donohue out in 24 and 3/10 seconds. The race goes on at Indianapolis. Again, we return to Indianapolis, where Al Unser in that beautiful number 2 car is apparently breezing to victory. Right now, he's trying to put yet another lap on last year's winner, Mario Andretti, in car number 1. Tremendous performance by the younger of the racing Unsers. There's Parnelli Jones in the pit. He's the team manager and half owner of this car, along with his partner, Val Militich. And there he puts the lap on Andretti. Quick reminder here that next weekend is another big weekend for racing on ABC. On Saturday on Wide World, it'll be the 24 Hours of Le Mans, live by satellite from Le Mans, France. Again, we return to Indianapolis, where Al Unser in that beautiful number 2 car is apparently breezing to victory. Right now, he's trying to put yet another lap on last year's winner, Mario Andretti, in car number 1. Tremendous performance by the younger of the racing Unsers. There's Parnelli Jones in the pit. He's the team manager and half owner of this car, along with his partner, Val Militich. And there he puts the lap on Andretti. Quick reminder here that next weekend is another big weekend for racing on ABC. On Saturday on Wide World, it'll be the 24 Hours of Le Mans, live by satellite from Le Mans, France. And on Sunday, also live in ABC's Championship Auto Racing Series, the first race of the season in the Can-Am Series from Motorsport Canada, and interspersed with that will be a report on the finish at Le Mans. Right now, however, it's Al Unser way out in front of the second place car, A.J. Foyt in car number 7, who's about 35 seconds behind. Chris is now down with Johnny Roper. Let's go down there.
Well, Johnny, you're out of it with exhaust header troubles, but you were the first leader of the 1970 Indianapolis 500-mile race. You said before the race you were a charger. Did you let Al Unser go by, or did he outrace you?
He just flat outraced me. There's a situation here with the drafts, and I knew if I let it into the first turn, that he would probably pick me up down the back straightaway. I did expect a little more of a tussle out of AJ, but he did just what he said he was going to do, stick a higher gear in the car and try to go for the length of the thing. So it's working out good for him, and of course Al, he's running beautifully. The car looks real good, and I just hate that we're out of it now.
Well, John, you had trouble in your early pit stop. Your engine died, didn't it?
Yes, we had, the clutch wasn't disengaging properly, and when I tried to put it in gear, it repelled and didn't want to go in gear. I pumped the clutch up as hard as I could. They rolled me as fast as they could, and I jammed it in gear, and as a result, when they two made it up and I just eased the clutch a little bit, it died, grabbed and killed the engine, and we had to back up and restart, and that would have hurt us all day. That plus every stop was the same way. The clutch just wouldn't work.
There's trouble in the third turn. That's Roger McCluskey driving in relief of Mel Kenyon into the wall, and this could be real trouble. Ronnie Bucknam getting into it. Bucknam in car number 19, closest to you. McCluskey getting out of the car, and Sam Sessions just gets around McCluskey, but the other cars are still coming. The yellow light is on. Yellow flag has been put out, but the fuel is running down the track, and here are other cars coming through it. The Alert Fire Department in Indianapolis, as always, right on the scene. And they're in a dangerous place right now. There's Dallenbach. Wally Dallenbach skidding, and Jack Brabham in car number 32. The cars haven't slowed down quite enough yet after seeing the yellow flag, and they're being waved down, flagged down to slow it down.
Part of the problem here, of course, is the fact that that fire is not visible, and these drivers are driving through that burning fuel, which is on fire, and of course creates a very dangerous situation.
Interestingly, Roger McCluskey told me earlier, after he got out of his own car that it was a little greasy up around the third turn. Then he took over from El Kenyon, and that's right where he spun.
One of the problems, of course, is the fact that he went out there with a full load of fuel, and so he actually had about 60 or 70 gallons of fuel.
Now, that arrow shows you where this thing started. He's already sideways. Coming up into the wall is Roger McCluskey.
He hits the wall, and right there, he's on fire.
Ronnie Bucknam sideways, down below.
It appears that a right rear wheel broke on McCluskey's car, causing the accident.
Slides on down the wall, and the car is already on fire. The right rear wheel, of course, comes off the automobile. Buckman sliding into the area of fuel that's already on fire. And Sammy Session coming in here really does a tremendous job.
Well, we'll see Sam come in now. There is McCluskey getting out of the car and Bucknam near you. And here comes Sam Sessions.
He backs into the wall. Then the car takes off again. He's just barely able to turn around the car that Roger McCluskey is trying to get out of.
And around.
Now Buckman's car down into the infield, out of the way.
Beautiful driving by Sammy Sessions there, all right. Avoiding Roger McCluskey as he got out of the car that started the whole thing. There you see them cleaning things up under the yellow flag. Everything under control now, but it is slowing down the race, of course, with Al Unser still way ahead.
The visibility, Jim, is getting bad at this accident scene now.
There is what's left of Roger McCluskey's car. What's that cost altogether, Chris?
It's about $60,000 worth of burned up Coyote.
And here's Dan Gurney. Gurney, who has been running fourth in the race, seems to be stopping.
He's had trouble all month long with that Olsenite Eagle. He had to take the wings off of it. It looks as though it may be starving for fuel.
Well, he's starting it up again now. What do you think could have been, Roger?
Well, possibly having to stop as quickly as he did coming around to that accident scene, he might have run the fuel away from the pickup. And it could be out, and then as he gets going slow enough, the fuel runs back to the pickup and was able to get going.
In the closing laps, Al Unser of Albuquerque, New Mexico, has at least one full lap on every car in the field except the second place car of A.J. Foyt, and he's trying to put a lap on him right now. That's Foyt in front, Unser just behind him. Oops.
Jim, there's a car that's blown its engine on the back straightaway. I believe it's Jack Brabham, a tough break for a guy who's really driven a great race today.
Jack Brabham, who started the rear engine revolution here in 1961, has blown his engine after running in the top 10 all day. But it's still Al Unser chasing A.J. Foyt, trying to put a lap on him.
Jim, we've got some new names in the top 10. Rookie Donnie Allison from the stock car ranks has moved into the top 10, and Jim McElreath, who started 33rd and last, is in there, as is rookie Rick Muther.
And now Al Unser has put that lap on A.J. Foyt, so there's nobody on the same lap with the leader. However, there's a real race for second right now. A.J. Foyt is closely pursued by Mark Donohue in car number 66, and they're both on the same lap, both within feet of each other now. Big money riding on second place here at Indy.
The speed of Unser for the race has dropped to 156.7 after an over 160 ride right from the start. That yellow flag did it.
And now Mark Donohue has taken A.J. Foyt and has moved into second place. Is now trying to get back on the same lap with Unser. And seems to be closing the distance on him a little bit.
Actually, the crew for Al Unser has given him the easy sign, and he has obeyed that sign. He's reduced his speed substantially, so it is possible that some of these other cars could unlap themselves.
Okay, it is Mark Donohue right now doing exactly that, getting on the same lap with Al Unser. So, now we have two cars on the same lap, but just by a matter of feet.
Of course, A.J. Foyt is still right behind Al, and he could conceivably unlap himself also.
Okay, and Foyt, of course, is still locked in a battle for second place with Donohue. And here comes Foyt, dropping down to the inside, and just about to unlap himself. He's now back on the same lap with the leader. Three cars on the same lap.
A yellow flag now, Jim, would enable these two fellows to go around and make up most of this lap. So Unser's really allowing himself to be put in a precarious position.
By taking it easy, in a sense, then, he's playing it kind of dangerously. Now, here's a different signal. From the pits, they're telling him to speed it up a little bit.
They can't write "not that easy" on the pit board.
Donnie Jones seems to want his driver back out in front. Actually, what I think is he doesn't want his car behind these automobiles. In the event that anything should happen to them, he wouldn't be involved in an accident or something. So he probably wants them to move up and put another lap on these cars. And, of course, that would also ensure that they could not close up on Al if there were another yellow flag.
Okay, well, there is A.J. right behind Mark Donahue. A tremendous battle for second. Remember, it's Al Unser the leader, Donahue second, A.J. Foyt third, Donnie Allison is now fourth, and Jim McElreath is fifth.
Jim, 20 of the 33 starting cars are out of the competition. We only have 13 machines left on this speedway.
Boy, A.J. Foyt just loves to race. He came here looking for his fourth Indy victory today. He won't get that, but he'd sure like to have second place from young Mark Donahue, the Ivy League man in the field, graduate of Brown University. Oh, it's A.J. slowing down. Something's happened to his car.
An 11th hour problem for A.J. Foyt. What a tough break for this great competitor from Houston. His fourth victory out the window. Now it's a question of whether or not he'll finish at all.
Here is Al Unser, the leader. And in another part of the track, we noticed that Bobby Unser has also slowed down. That's another one of the leaders dropping back.
This moves Dan Gurney into third place behind Mark Donahue. A tough break for Bobby Unser because he's been in the top all race long.
And there you see the white flag. That means one lap for the leader. One lap for Al Unser. Three Unser brothers have raced here in Indianapolis. One, Jerry, was killed in an accident in the late 50s. Bobby Unser won the race 2 years ago. And now, by completing this lap, Al, who celebrated his 31st birthday just yesterday, can complete the first brother act in victory at Indianapolis.
Foyt is hanging on, Jim, running low on the track. He's going to finish.
But it appears it will be Al Unser the winner right here, the Johnny Lightning Special, with Mark Donahue second and Dan Gurney third, Donnie Allison fourth, and Jim McElreath fifth.
Foyt's car's going extremely slow on the track. He's being passed by many cars, Jim.
The crowd of more than 300,000 on their feet now, paying tribute to the apparent victor. There's the checkered flag. He takes it, and it's all over. Al Unser has won the 1970 Indianapolis 500, the crowning glory of a race driver's career. And there's his pit crew.
You know, Jim, there's been talk all week long of the first $1 million purse here at Indianapolis. And if that should come through, Unser stands to win close to $275,000.
That would make it easily the richest sporting event in the world. And there goes the crew running for Victory Lane. We'll be back for a word with the winner.
Hey, I'm sorry to intrude here, but it seems to be the only place to get. If you look at that camera, Al, you have won the Indianapolis 500. First of all, can you put your reactions to that great achievement into words, and are they any different than you thought they might be?
Well, Jim, I really don't know if it's really true yet or not. I'm so excited right now that I think it'll probably take me 2 or 3 days to really get a hold of myself, and Barnelli and my wife keep telling me that I won it, so maybe I can get over it.
Yeah, well, it's sure a little different result than last year, huh?
Yes, it is.
How's the leg?
It's very good. In fact, it came through today with flying colors.
Well, here's Al's wife, Wanda. Congratulations to you.
Thank you very much.
And you have any words for your reaction?
I've got the same ones he does. I can't believe it.
And sitting next... Yes, sir.
I would like to say hello to my kids in Albuquerque. They're watching today, and Mary and Debbie and Al, I think that they'll be real happy over this.
I'm sure of that. Sitting next to Wanda is the last man able to win the pole in the race on the same day. Owner of the car, Parnelli Jones. Congratulations again.
Well, thank you. It's really a pleasure. I'll tell you, it's just as much fun winning as a car owner as it is a driver.
There's one other person we must have a word with. Mrs. Unser, congratulations.
Isn't that wonderful?
Will you tell me one thing? How in the world, when you're sitting up there in the stands, I've watched you many times, do you maintain what appears to be your composure all the time?
Well, you just do it because you have to.
Yeah. Okay, is it going to be a little chili cooked up tomorrow? Or?
No. Steaks and lobster.
Steaks and lobsters tomorrow for the Unsers. Congratulations again to all of you.
And now here are the final official results. Al Unser the winner, of course. Second place goes to Mark Donahue. Third, Dan Gurney. Fourth, Donnie Allison. And fifth, Jim McElreath. So it was at Indianapolis on Memorial Day. Racing is a sport of excitement, but also of danger. And since last Saturday, the sport has lost one of its finest drivers and most decent personalities. Bruce McLaren of New Zealand, age 32, was killed while testing a car at the Goodwood track in England. He was one of the very best in several areas. As a Formula One driver, I particularly remember him winning a classic race from Phil Hill in the streets of Monte Carlo. In 1966, he teamed with Chris to win the 24 Hours of Le Mans for Henry Ford. And most recently, he and teammate Dennis Hulme, driving McLaren cars, have dominated the Can-Am Sports Car Series to the almost total exclusion of everyone else. When Timmy Mayer, a young teammate of Bruce's, was killed a few years ago, it was McLaren who said, "Life is not only a matter of years. Timmy lived more in his short span than other men do in 70 or 80 years." So it was with Bruce McLaren himself. Still, he will be mourned and missed terribly in the motorsport. The executive producer of ABC's Wide World of Sports is Roone Arledge. Coordinating producer, Jim Spence. The Indianapolis 500 produced by Ned Steckel and directed by Larry Camp. Our associate producers were Bryce Wiseman and Dennis Lewin, and our associate director, Don Ohlmeyer. The technical director was Vern Hendrickson. For now, this is Jim McKay, along with Chris Economaki and Roger Ward, saying so long from Indianapolis, with a reminder to be with us next Saturday on ABC's Wide World of Sports for our exclusive live coverage by satellite of the Le Mans France 24-hour Grand Prix of Endurance, the World Invitational High Diving Championship, also live from Montreal, along with a preview of the upcoming U.S. Open Golf Championships. Air travel arrangements made through and promotional consideration furnished by TWA, the sportsman's airline. Whether you're a sports spectator or participant, TWA is your kind of airline. We go where the action is. Today's program was pre-recorded. Spanning the globe to bring you the constant variety of sport, the thrill of victory, and the agony of defeat. The human drama of athletic competition. This has been ABC's Wide World of Sports.